It's the philosophy, stupid. The free countries, America and England, were free because of their philosophers who designed them. Hayek's point is there's a spontaneous order that produces capitalism and the capitalism established. It's, quote, order resulted not from human design or intention, but spontaneously, spread by means of an evolutionary selection, the comparative increase of population and wealth of those groups that happen to follow them. Incidentally, I'm a big proponent of evolution. I'm a Darwinist, but not about human choice, which is not subject to natural selection. I wrote my doctoral thesis applying natural selection to animal life and plant life and what that meant for philosophy. So I don't want anything I say to make you think I'm against evolution. I worship Darwin. He was one of the greatest men in human history, and his theory is fantastic. However, America is not the result of a fact that the rich, the more free countries got rich, and that's why we have America. America didn't happen to happen, nor did England in the period from 1600 on. Well, let's just say in the 17th and 18th century. America, it's the philosophy, stupid. The free countries, America and England, were free because of their philosophers who designed them. The best known is John Locke, the second treatise of government, who laid out the concept of rights for the first time and got it almost entirely right. Did you know that John Locke wrote the state constitution of South? It didn't just happen. It was the result of the philosophy that was spread by the better philosophers at that time. The philosophy that Hume and Kant reversed. Rousseau, Hume, and Kant, and Hegel reversed and turned 180 degrees away so that we're now decreasing in freedom rather than increasing. But Hayek's blind to all of this. And he says, the main point of my argument is then that the conflict between, on one hand, advocates of the spontaneous extended human order created by a competitive market, meaning freedom, and on the other hand, those who demand a deliberate arrangement of human interaction by central authority based on collective command over available resources, is due to a factual error. It's a mistake in economics that led to the Gulag. It's a mistake in economics that led to the Nazi death camps. It's a mistake in economics that led to the rise of the Taliban and our inability to deal appropriately with jihadists. This is why libertarianism is doomed to fail. They like a philosopher who believes morality has nothing to do with politics. In an era where it's kind of more obvious than ever that morality is the only issue in politics. It's what gets bodies into the street marching. Morality, equality, down with privilege, Occupy Wall Street, because the 1% are immoral, greedy bastards. Social justice warriors. Environmentalism. What is environmentalism? But you are meant to serve nature. It's lower than altruism. It's not really altruism, which says you are meant to serve other men. You are meant to serve muds and stones and bugs. How are you going to fight that idea with a philosophy that champions an economist who said, oh, no, this is all just based upon, they didn't understand how the price system supplies information to producers. That's his whole argument, by the way. Prices carry information. Yeah, they do. But nobody is going to the barricades to say, we need better information in markets, and that's why I'm on the barricade killing and defending the right and the good and the true. No, it's wrong ideas about the right and the good and the true that are sending people to the barricades, on the left anyway. The right, you know, sometime when you're watching the news, if you're in America, and Chuck Schumer appears on the screen, turn off the sound and just watch his body language. Chuck Schumer is confident, morally certain, outraged at the evils that he claims to see. And his body language is of an assertive, confident judger. Now, do the same with, oh, Lindsey Graham or Mitch McConnell or Rand Paul, whoever, whatever you think is the opposite. And you'll see a very calm, reasonable person who's not judging, who just wants the facts to come out and thinks he's right, but you got to acknowledge that there's always room for error in human action. That's why they lose. That's why conservatives lose. That's why libertarians have to lose. They are unwilling to challenge God. If you're getting into this game, you've got to defeat God. God tells you bow down, you got to say, God damn you, God, I'm not bowing down. My life is mine. You don't exist. So stop roaring your commandments to me. You've got to be willing to do in morality what the Renaissance thinkers were willing to do in epistemology. They threw out faith. They said only that which science can prove is legitimate. But when it came to ethics, they held the principle that David Hume, cited by David Bose as a great guy, Hume said, which Hayek puts in the forefront as an epigraph for his book. The rules of morality are not the conclusions of our reason. You're goddamn right, they're the conclusions of our reason. And to say they're not is to turn the field over to religious ethics, where it has been for ever since God knows when. And since there is no God, that's a long time. So don't just challenge religious ideas on what exists. Challenge religion's ideas on what your obligations are. Your obligations are to yourself and only to yourself. Having obligations to yourself, you choose to engage in certain obligations to other people, like I make contracts, or I make friends, or I marry, and I take on, since I regard those as values, I take on the obligation that I have to all my chosen values. There are no unchosen obligations. There is no God. There is no commandment to serve the needy or to serve anything or anybody. There's only your life and what you want to do with it.